The man known as the father of the new Navy helped the US to establish itself as a military superpower and became incredibly wealthy in doing so. Hi everyone, Ken here. Welcome to This House. Today we are exploring the Whitney Mansion in Manhattan. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. William Whitney grew up in a well-to-do family, so it was no surprise that when he attended college at Yale, he became a member of the Skull and Bone Society, which connected him with some of the world's most influential elites, including his future brother-in-law, Colonel Oliver Payne. After graduating, he practiced law, helping to weed out fraud in New York City's government. Around this time, he married his good friend, Colonel Payne's sister, Flora, and Colonel Payne gifted the newlywed couple a mansion in Manhattan. Later on, during the Cleveland presidency, it was rumored that Colonel Payne bribed officials so that his dear brother-in-law could become the United States Secretary of the Navy. While in this position, William greatly expanded the Navy by ordering new fleets of ships, helping to bring the Navy into the cutting edge of the 20th century. Because of this overhaul of the Navy's infrastructure, he is often referred to as the father of the new Navy. He awarded manufacturing contracts to his friends and family members, including his brother Henry, who was president of the Metropolitan Steamship Company. There are several unproved rumors surrounding how William became wealthy serving in this position, and we won't go into those. But by the end of his term, he had amassed a $40 million fortune, being worth the modern-day equivalent of $1.3 billion. Now, being incredibly wealthy, he began to search for love, even though he was already married to his first wife. But William had no regard for his allegiances. He began partying with J.P. Morgan aboard his private yacht, where he met Edith Randolph, Morgan's mistress. William and Edith quickly fell in love. Then his wife Flora mysteriously died from an illness. William was said to not be heartbroken, but instead excited to be able to bring Edith into his life publicly. But Colonel Payne issued William a strong threat that if he did not take the 2 years of customary mourning time to grieve his late sister, that there would be consequences for his actions. So William obliged, and waited a couple years to go public with his relationship, marrying Edith. The two began to start their lives together, searching for a perfect house in Manhattan to start their own family. That's when they found the Stewart Mansion at 871 Fifth Avenue. The second Empire-style mansion had been built 13 years earlier and was now considered out of style. While it had large rooms, they had been decorated by the previous generation and were lacking the glitz and glam associated with the Gilded Age. But there was something about the house they liked. Its proportions were nice, and it had good bones on a corner lot at one of the world's most desirable intersections. Instead of tearing it down to start over, they hired the architecture firm of McKim, Mead, and White to reimagine the house in a more palatial style. At the direction of Stanford White, the walls were ripped down to the studs, and several rooms were greatly expanded, with a few new additions being added to the house. He began sourcing antique fireplaces, wood panels, and other architectural elements to be shipped in from Europe, while McKim and Mead reworked the facade into a limestone-clad Beaux-Arts palace. When it was all said and done, in 1902, the mansion now boasted 54,000 square feet of interior living space, with the cost of renovations reaching the staggering amount of $3.5 million, or the modern-day equivalent of about $121 million. The entrance to the house had been moved to 68th Street, where a pair of bronze and wrought iron gates, which had been reclaimed from the Doria Palace in Italy, greeted visitors. Passing through the front doors, you would arrive in the entrance hall, where coffered ceilings towered above a solid marble fireplace with intricate relief work in its upper mantel. To the side, marble stairs, complemented by carved marble balustrade, swept along marble block walls decorated with antique tapestries. As you made your way through the entrance hall, you would see rare trophies strewn about the mosaic stone floor, with potted exotic plants contrasting against the white marble halls. Before exploring the rest of the house, you would be guided to the Louis XV reception room beyond velvet curtains. The room boasted antique wall panels with a subtle but elegant plaster vine draping the ceiling. As you continued through the house, the rooms became more and more grand, with the drawing room boasting intricately carved window surrounds set against wallpaper below a coffered ceiling. The library continued with half-height bookcases set against imported, antique panels, draped with embroidered crimson-colored velvet ducal banners below the ceiling's ornate millwork. Entering the dining room was like opening a book from antiquity. The tapestries displayed on the walls depicted scenes from the Iliad and were broken up by marble door surrounds which had been salvaged from ancient Roman temples. And if none of these rooms had impressed you so far, the ballroom, which was now the largest in New York City, would leave you speechless. It had been finished out in the Louis XIV style and could sit 200 guests for grand banquets. In fact, before the house had been completely finished, the first ball of the new millennia was hosted here. Of the many notable guests, Carolyn Astor stole the spotlight when she wore an outfit that was said to be adorned with more diamonds than the rest of the guests owned. Perhaps an exaggeration, but a detail nonetheless that helps paint a picture of just how grand this ball was. Unfortunately, before the house was finished and before this ball was hosted, Edith fell off her horse, paralyzing her from the neck down. She passed away shortly after. Nevertheless, William enjoyed the mansion, mingling with high society and hosting some of the most lavish parties the city had ever seen. Until 1904, just 2 years after the mansion had been completed, his appendix ruptured. After having it removed, he was found dead on the marble floors, possibly having taken a fall while still recovering. Within a few months, his heirs had finished auctioning off the house and all of its contents to a single buyer, James Henry Smith. He moved in immediately and began hosting huge parties, filling the halls with music and cheer once again. But enjoyment never lasted long in the Whitney mansion. Less than 3 years after buying the house, James married his lover, Annie Armstrong. The newlywed couple set out to Japan on their honeymoon, where James ended up passing away. William Whitney's son, Harry Payne Whitney, then ended up buying the mansion for himself and his wife, Gertrude Vanderbilt, to live in. After Harry passed away in 1930, Gertrude spent less and less time at the mansion, preferring to live at their country house known as the Manse instead. In 1942, she decided to place the house up for sale, but she passed away before it sold. Her heirs auctioned off the house and all of its contents. At this time, New York was rapidly developing, with mansions being replaced by skyscrapers at an alarming rate. Knowing that whoever would buy the mansion would probably tear it down, the heirs had the foresight to auction off most of the architectural elements, antique wall panels, and elaborate fireplaces. In hindsight, this was a great decision, as the developer who purchased the house had it bulldozed without removing the remaining architectural salvage. In its place, the apartment block at 870 Fifth Avenue was erected, replacing what was the site of one of Manhattan's most lavish mansions. Though the house has been lost to progress, we have these photos to remember it by. Which room was your favorite? Let me know down below in the comments section. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode of This House. I would also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our This House supporters, whose names you can see on screen right now. If you would like to see your name on the screen and show the world that you support the production of these videos, join our membership program today. I'll see you next time on This House.